Hello, very good afternoon to all of you. Myself Sanat Kumar Swai, and we'll be taking a class on the relationship between organizational behavior and relationship between a particular individual. Okay. So in our previous class we have discussed the importance of organizational behavior and how an individual behave in an organization and how it is both are interconnected with each other, and how an organizational behavior is very important in the perspective of an organizational development. So today we will be discussing about the organizational behavior and its relationship between an individual, a particular individual. So in our last class, as we have discussed, that organizational behavior, it comprises with an individuals, with a group, with people who are associated with a particular organization. So we'll see that how an individual behavior affects an organizational behavior on a whole. So study of human behavior. Organizational behavior is a study of how individual and a group behave in an organizational context. It focuses on understanding and explaining why people within an organization act or behave the way they do. This has also got to do with their examining with their attitudes, their motivations, their emotions, and their behaviors. Now, influence on individual behavior. Organizational theories, they provide a deep insight into how organizational structures work, what are the leadership styles, what are a particular organizational culture, and how various kinds of policies that can influence an individual behavior. For example, every organization has got their own organizational structure, their organizational setup. There is a culture, organizational culture within an organization. So in any organization you will find that there is a certain hierarchy is been observed. Okay, sometimes you will see that many organizations, they have a rigid hierarchy, and sometimes you will find that there is some sort of leniency within the hierarchy. Okay, so if there is a rigid hierarchy, that may stifle the creativity and any sort of initiative within the organizational structure. So that also put an influence on the individual behavior working in a particular organization. Now, individual factors. So what are the individual factors which need to be taken into account while we are discussing about the relationship between the organizational behavior and an individual? Okay. So if we study an organizational behavior in a particular organization on a particular individual perspective, we'll find that an individual has got its own personality traits, okay, the way it behaves, the way it performs, okay, the way it conceives, okay, various aspects of the organizations. Okay, so these are the personality traits of a particular individual. Moreover, it has got its own value, it has got its own beliefs and a skill set. Okay, so these are something a particular individual, they when while joining an organization, they sometimes they retain it from their past. Okay, sometimes what they do is that they learn while when they are joining the organization, when they are working with a particular team or a particular project. What they do is that their personality traits, sometimes it differs from their past personality traits. Okay, that may change. So how that personality traits, how their values, how their beliefs and skills, they influence the way a particular individual is working while working with their colleagues, while responding with the higher leadership, and how overall the particular individuals it contributes to the organizational goals. So these are all the individual factors. Now, leadership style. So leadership style is very important while we are studying about the organizational structure. Okay, so you may have various kinds of leadership styles in any kind of organization. Okay, so let's say if there is a democratic sort of leadership style where the all the decisions and all the planning which are being made democratically, so in that case what happens is that every individual working with the within the company or within the organization has a what to say. So that is the democratic way of leadership style. Okay, sometimes you will find autocratic. So what do you mean by autocratic? Autocratic in the sense there is a one-man army. Okay, if the manager or the higher authority, whatever they decide or whatever they put into action, that becomes law. Okay, nobody is going to challenge them. Nobody is going to ask them why or what is the reason behind it. Okay, there is no question to raise. Okay, laissez-faire. What do you mean by laissez-faire? Laissez-faire means it's like you have a free to do. Okay, all the employees, all the individuals working in an organization, they are free to do as they wish to do, but conforming to the organizational set of rules and regulations, not going away from the rules and regulations, but within the organization's rules and regulations they are free to do as long as that contribute to the positive growth of the organization, and they are free to do so. Transformational. Now what do you mean by transformational? If a leadership style, if a leadership has got transformative ideas, okay, they want to do anything related to transformation, they want some sort of transformation within the organizational structure, so that is related to the leadership style related to transformation. Second is transactional. So what do you mean by transactional? Like if a manager or if the higher authority they feels that okay, if a let's say an individual or an employee, they are performing well, they are doing to the best of their ability, they are working hard and they are contributing much to the growth of the organization, then they feel that okay, let's give some incentive to them, let's give some sort of like not financially, it may be any kind of thing, but that should be rewarded. Okay, their hard work should be rewarded. Okay. And in some case, if an employee is not putting up to the mark, okay, then there should be some sort of punishment. Okay, there should be some sort of like you know, a realization that yes, the particular employee isn't putting the effort which he or she should do. So that is something related to transactional leadership style. Okay. Now bureaucratic means following the hierarchy. Okay, they are following the hierarchy, and when there is a set of rules and regulations within the organizations and there is a policy, okay, they are just conforming to the policy of their organization. They're not going beyond the policy, they're not making any new change to the organization structure. So that is something related to bureaucratic way of leadership. Okay, now servant. What do you mean by servant leadership style? Servant means when the leadership style shows the humbleness, they feel that they are also a part of the organization and they also serve. They are here to serve the organization, not to order the organization, or not to, I mean, they are not apart from the organization that they should order and their work should be done. Rather than they feel that they are also giving service as per the as the other employees and the other individuals are working, and they are also as a servant. So in that case, what you see that is known as servant leadership style. They feel that they are also a part of the organization and they should also give their service to the organization as per the other staffs. Now, motivation and job satisfaction. While working for an organization or any institution, the most important part is motivation. So how do we get motivated? How do we get motivated? There are a lot of ways to get motivated. Various kinds of ways of motivations can be given, and motivation also leads to job satisfaction. So if we are not satisfied in our job, Okay, if there is any kind of dissatisfaction within our job, then you will find that that leads to not less productivity. Okay, that also leads to less enhancement. Okay, uh, so there is a demotivating factors which relates to job dissatisfaction. So this is one of the very important aspect in organizational behavior. So what normally the managers or the higher authorities in any organization they do is that they use this knowledge, particularly motivation and job satisfaction, to design various kinds of job, and what should be the rewards should be given, what is the recognition system, how you can recognize a person, whether to motivate that particular person or not, okay, and to enhance their job satisfaction. So there are various recognition systems the organization they what they do is that they normally put into place so that that can be monitored, that can be monitored and that can be recognized. The particular employees hard work can be recognized while motivating them. So here the motivation theory, like Maslow's hierarchy of need. Maslow is given a hierarchy of needs theory along with Herzberg two-factor theory, which is often applied in the motivation and job satisfaction related in organizational behavior. So what is Maslow's hierarchy of needs? If you see the pyramid, Maslow's need pyramid, you will see that there are 5 important factors which relate to the hierarchy of needs. The first one is self-actualization. What do you mean by self-actualization? When we are joining any organization, we'll see that why we are joining a particular organization, why we are working for a particular organization. Okay. Sometimes we feel that okay, we have a self-actualization. We have a desire. We have a desire to be somewhere we want to be, or we normally what we do is that we I mean there's a goal, a self goal. Okay, nobody has forced us on that particular goal, but we have a particular goal which we need to achieve. So that is something related to self actualization. Next is esteem. What do you mean by esteem? Esteem means you have a self respect, you have your own status, you have your a recognition within the organization, okay? You have your own freedom, you have, so these all aspects is all related to esteem. Okay, the third one is love and belonging. So a person, everybody, obviously everybody needs love and belonging. Okay, the love and belonging maybe in form of friendship, in form of family, a sense of connection between the family members, maybe a sense of connection between the colleagues. Okay. So obviously we need love and belonging. Okay. The fourth one is safety needs. Obviously everybody needs safety. What kind of safety? That may be job safety, that may be personal safety, that may be personal security, okay, and related to your employment, related to your resource, it may relate to your health, property, anything. So we also want that safety of our well-being, okay, in every sphere. And the last one is physiological need. Obviously that is a need for everybody, like we need air, water, food, shelter, the basic needs of every individual. So Maslow has propounded this hierarchy of needs pyramid, so that that also motivates. So if these needs are fulfilled, it is also relates to our motivating factor. Now, Herzberg two-factor theory. So, what is Herzberg two-factor theory? So, if you can see, the first one is job satisfaction, and the second one is job dissatisfaction. Now, the job satisfaction is influenced by motivator factors. So, what are the motivating factors? The motivating factors are your achievement. If you are getting recognition for your hard work, your responsibility towards your work, the work itself, okay, you are enjoying your work, if there is an advancement, if there is a growth in your particular job area, and your personal growth. So these are the motivating factors. So what happens is that this motivating factor increases job satisfaction. If you are satisfied in your job, then definitely that will lead to a high productivity within the organization. Job dissatisfaction. The next one is, the first one is motivating factor or motivator factor. The second one is hygiene factor. So the hygiene factor has got factors such as working condition, the way you are working in any organization, if that is a positive way, if that is a in a negative fear, co-worker relation, what kind of relationship you are having with your co-workers and colleagues, that also relates to the hygiene factor. The policies and rules, what kind of policies and rules are being applied in your organization. Maybe that is a positive rule, that may be negative, that may impact your well-being, that may impact your background, that may impact your family, your job, work-life balance. Okay. Supervisor quality, I mean how your immediate manager or your immediate boss, they behave with you. That is also one of the factor. And obviously your salary, your the way you are your salary, your wages also contribute to your hygiene factor. So what happens is that improving the hygiene factor, if we are improving the hygiene factors, then it decreases the job dissatisfaction. Whereas if we are improving the motivating factor, then that increases the job satisfaction. Okay. So this is the Herzberg two-factor theory. Now leadership and influence. So how leadership influences the organizational behavior on a particular individual. Okay. So the leadership culture, the leadership style in any organization, it depends. It changes from organization to organization. So that it has got a significant impact, a very significant impact on an individual in any organization. So effective leaders, they can inspire, motivate, and empower their teams. Okay. While if there is an ineffective leadership, that can lead to frustration and reduced performance. So in any organization, if there is a good leader, in the next slide we'll see what is a good leadership, what is a good leader, and how a good leader motivates his or her subordinates. So we'll see that. So in an effective leader, what happens, what they do is that they motivate, they inspire, okay, the other staff member to work, to empower them, okay, to give their best performance. Whereas if there is an ineffective leadership, okay, so all depends on the leadership. I mean, if you see, there are many organizations, the leadership quality is important for the growth or for the decline of any organization. So it all depends on the leadership, the higher leadership, how they bring about changes, positive changes within the organization. Now, so these are the qualities of a good leader. Okay. So what are the good leaders? A good leader has a clear communication skill, a very important thing. Because you will see that most of the good leaders, they don't communicate properly. Well, communication is one of the most important factors in becoming a good leader. If you are unable to communicate properly with your subordinates or to your staffs, then definitely the flow of information cannot pass on. The flow of information should be very important. That should be very clear. Secondly, setting out good example. We may give a lot of people, they can give a lot of good examples. A leader can give you a lot of examples, but how he himself can create a good example out of himself is very important. If that leader is creating a good example out of himself, then that person, that can be termed as a quality of a good leader. Okay. Recognition. What do you mean by recognition? Recognition in the sense, but a good leader, he or she should recognize the hard work of an individual. If you are not recognizing, it will seriously lead to a demotivating factor in any individual. We have to give recognition. We strive, every individual will strive for recognition. That is I believe that is very important, rather than giving your cash handouts or your incentives and everything else. Okay, recognition should be the first motivating factor for any good leader. Next is inspiration. A good leader should inspire his or her staff. There are many different kinds of inspirational factors, inspirational theories. They should put all into work, and they should inspire his or her subordinates or your staffs. Okay, that will no doubt that will term you as a good leader, but most importantly, that will create more productivity within an organization. Integrity. What do you mean by integrity? Integrity in the sense, all the staffs of an organization, they should work with integrity. They should think themselves as a whole, as a part of the organization, okay, not out of the organization. All are working for the growth of the organization. So that is the leader should also create integrity within an organization. Stimulating work. How to stimulate? A lot of people, you'll find that they are less stimulating. They lack stimulation. How to stimulate them? How to stimulate them so that they can put the stimulation into work? That is important of quality of a good leader. Now, vision. A good leader should have a clear and long vision. They should have a proper vision for the organization. Not only organization plus the employees. So what kind of vision you are carrying for your organization and for your employees, that also tells a lot of things about a good leader. Focusing on team. Teamwork is very important to achieving any kind of goals within an organization. Okay. So whether that is one thing I believe a lot of good leaders are lacking. They are not focusing on a team. Rather, they are focusing on individual. A good leader should focus on a teamwork rather than uh, a particular individual. For example, let's say there's an operation theater within in any hospital. You'll find that when there is an operation theater, if you go to an operation theater, you'll find that there are a lot of people are working. The doctors, the nurses, the anesthesiologists, okay, and the people behind the team, such as the electrician, the sport boys. A lot of people are working behind the scene. So it's not the duty of a doctor only to should be recognized or should be focused on, rather than everyone should get a clear recognition. For example, the anesthesiologist has got one of the most important tasks while carrying out an operation. Okay, once if something goes wrong, that's a zero error job. Something goes wrong, then that's a deadly mistake. That's a deadly disaster which can happen. Okay. So we should focus on team rather than focusing on a particular. Okay, the doctor is going to operate on the patient, but the doctor has been assisted with a different number of teams, and there is a very important for teamwork. We should focus on teamwork. Now, support. Lot of lot of people, they lack support. Just little push, just little support, and they can go miles ahead. But that little push or that little support, most of the leaders, they don't provide. So that is why most of the people, they lag behind. And that should be the quality of a good leader, that they should understand, okay, where I need to give a push, where I need to give a support to a particular employee. That is very important. Now, clear goals. A leader, a good leader, should have clear goals. What he or she wants to achieve, organizational goals, how they can achieve that. They should have a clear goal, a pathway, a proper strategy should be maintained so as to achieve that goals. Encouragement. Every now and then you will find that a good leader encourages his or her staffs. Encouragement is like a booster. It acts as a booster for every individual. If we are not encouraged, we are not going to put our best. Okay. You'll find in many multinational organizations there is no bureaucratic culture. No bureaucratic culture. I mean, they call you, even the subordinates, they call their boss in their name. They call by their name. That bureaucratic culture still exists in our in different workplaces apart from your multinational organizations. Okay. While we address our bosses as sir or madams. So these are the qualities of a good leader. The group dynamics. What do you mean by group dynamics? There are various factors while working in a group, while interacting in a group, when a group is working in a particular organization. So how that group dynamics work, and how group dynamic is important to build a high performing team. See, recently you have seen that Chandrayaan 3, it was a success. Okay. We have reached the moon. So has reached the moon. But can you name a particular guy who has done who can be named as the important person for all the whole project, whether it is a team performance or it's an individual performance? You'll see that that is a team performance. A high performing team was involved in this. That is something related to group dynamics. So what do you mean by group dynamics? Group dynamics is like how people interact within a group or in a team. When there's a one-to-one conversation, when there's a one-to-one interaction, that may be a different interaction. But when an individual is interacting in a group or in a team, so then group dynamism comes into play. So organizational behavior explores how a particular individual is interacting in a group or in a team. It examines various factors such as communications, the way it is communicating. Communication is very important. And the second is decision making processes, the way it is making decisions. Okay. If there is any conflict, then there should be a conflict resolution and also teamwork. So that group dynamism, if a group dynamics has been studied intensely, that will create in building high performing team, and that can also increase cooperation within the individual working in a organization. Now, dynamics of a group. How the dynamism of a group, what are the factors of a dynamics of a group? You'll see composition. What are the composition of a group? Composition in the sense, obviously people are the composition. So what kind of people are added onto a group that that makes the dynamics of a group? Status. What are the status of that particular group? Leadership. What kind of leadership is being applied leadership style has been applied to that particular group. Cohesiveness, a sense of working together, working as a whole. If there is any sort of cohesiveness within a particular group, whether there is a cohesiveness or a cohesiveness is lacking in a particular group, that also determines the dynamics of a group. What are the norms, whether we are being conforming to that particular norms or not in an organization, that also pave the path of a dynamics. Roles, what roles are being played by a group and what are the size of a group. So these all factors, it determines the dynamics of a particular group. Now employee well-being. Okay, employee well-being is extremely important in any organization. Organizational behavior should consider the well-being of all its individual within any organization. Right now you will see most of the multinational organizations, they are very much concerned about their employees well-being. What are the issues? Issues are like stress. These days stress is one of the most important issues related to an employee well-being. So there are various ways are being adopted within an organization to reduce the stress, to create a work-life balance. Most of the people these days, they don't have work-life balance within themselves. Okay, so that created this harmony in their workplace and in their personal life, personal space. There has to be harmonious work-life balance, and obviously that all leads to mental health. So if a person is not mentally sound, he or she may not be able to give his or her best performance at work. So most of the organizations these days, they give utmost priority to an employee well-being, so that they can be satisfied and the most productive employees of their organization. Organizational culture, as we have already discussed organizational culture. Okay. What do you mean by organizational culture? Every organization has got their own culture. Okay. We cannot judge a particular organizational culture with any other culture, other organization. This organization culture may be different from that organizational culture may be different from the other organization's culture, and that culture, okay, that shapes how an individual behaves. Sometimes what happens is that we as you have seen in most of the culture, we may incline to a particular culture. We may not like the organizational structure, okay, but we may like the organizational culture. Okay, so organizational structure is something different than organizational culture. Okay. And in organizational culture is very important in shaping a particular or an individual's behavior and subsequently his or her performance. Now organizational culture, this is a pyramid, not a pyramid, you can say it's a opposite pyramid of an organizational culture. You'll see here that the first one is that the leadership has time. You'll find in most of the organizational culture, you'll find that the leadership doesn't have time. They lack time. But in a positive organizational culture, you'll find that the leadership should always have time for his or her subordinates. Ownership is assigned and measured. These days you will find, that may sound weird, but these days what happens is that in most of the multinational organizations, shares are being given to their employees. Why would you give shares to your employees? Because to generate a feeling that I also own something to this particular organization. I have an ownership right to this particular organization. Something is being owned by me. A part and parcel of this particular organization is owned by me. So what happens that there is a we feeling, I should contribute more, I should work more, I should perform more. So that is also part of the organizational culture. Well, most of the organization, they adopt ownership, or they may not adopt ownership. That is up to the organizations. Excellence is a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. Okay? It's a two-way street. One goes, the other comes. So it's a two-way street. Next is spotting and grooming future leaders. Obviously, if we take the case of Tata, you'll see that the highest leadership, they have resigned, they have stepped down, and that leadership quality has been handed over to somebody within the organization. So the organizational culture should spot and groom future leaders who can run the organization in the future. That is also one of the part of the organizational culture, rather than taking out somebody from outside the organization. That if you can spot and groom leaders from within the organization, that can grow the organizational culture in multiple ways. Setting up for success. What is our setup for success? How we can achieve the success, or how we can achieve our organizational structure, our organizational development? So that should be also part of the culture. Trust is very, very important, because if there is no trust within the organizational culture, then definitely the organization is not going to flourish. There is definitely is going to will be demeaned in time or no time. So trust is very important in any kind of organizational culture. And lastly, fun. What kind of fun? Fun in the sense, while we are working in any organization, there should be fun in working. We should not be stressed up while working. There should be some sort of relaxation while working. These also contribute to your organizational culture in any kind of organization. Now, change management. Change management is like, what do you mean by change? Do we like change? I believe most of the people, they don't like change. Change is something, see, when we are adapted to a certain circumstances, to a certain behavior, certain situation, and once we have been taken out from that particular place, of that particular situation, and if something new changes comes in a in any organization, then obviously we don't like it. We are averse to any kind of change. We like routine work. But change management is of utmost importance, because it plays a critical role in managing organizational change. Organizational change or organizational behavior plays a critical role in managing the organizational change. If there is an organizational change, obviously every organization changes. The leadership changes, the dynamism of an organization changes, the culture of an organization changes. There are multiple factors of any kind of changes. So, but as there is a saying, the rolling stone gather no moss. So definitely there has to be changes in any kind of organization, so that there is no moss. Moss, you see, when a stone is rolling, you will find that the stone is or a pebble is neat and clean. Whereas if a stone has been left out in the water for a very long period of time, you will find that moss it generates moss within itself. Okay, so around itself. So change is important. Change is important, but it is also important how individual will react to that changes within an organization. If there is a change, then the organizational behavior plays an important role in anticipating how the staff or the individuals will react to that change, and it should ensure that there should be smooth transition while adapting to the changes. change management. How we can ensure that there is a smooth transition of change management within an organization. There should be a strategy. Strategy should be adopted to adopt the change. How we can organize, how we can motivate our staff, how that should can be a teamwork, okay. How we can improve if there is certain improvement needs to be done in our structure. If definitely there will be change management. So how we can improve and how we can measure whether that change, how long will that change occur, and is there any time period for that particular change. So these all includes the change management. So here we have come to the last part of the slide, and summarizing what we have gone through today's class, we'll see that organizational behavior and an individual, the behavior is very important. I mean, the relationship between an organizational behavior and individual are very intricately linked, okay, very minutely. One person cannot, we cannot study in organizational behavior without individual. Individuals must are a part and parcel of an study and organizational behavior in any organization. Now, organizational behavior seeks to understand, it predict and influence individual and group behavior to improve organizational performance, employee satisfaction, and overall effectiveness. So, first of all, it needs to understand if this, why this, okay. It should predict if we are bringing out some sort of change, how that is going to influence the individual or the group behavior within the organization. Is it going to hamper the organizational performance? Is it going to hamper the employee satisfaction? Can we bring out overall effectiveness by bringing out the required change? So these are the aspects which organizational behavior seeks to understand. And lastly, we should understand that organizations are made up of individuals, and obviously individuals have unique characteristics. They are unique in themselves. Okay. Motivational factors are different for different individuals. Their behavior, that shapes their behavior, and a good management of an organizational behavior management is very important. It provides the basic tools, important tools and insights to manage these elements so that the organizational goals can be achieved. So with this, I believe we have covered all the aspects of organizational behavior, the relationship between an organizational behavior and an individual, and how it is very important in achieving the organizational goal in any particular organization. So that's all for now. Thank you very much.